cooler than it was supposed to be, so we had to change our plans late last night. A little bit of rain came in last night for a few minutes and brought a nice, cool, nippy front.
We got a lot of dry air. So even though it says 8C, it feels colder than that.
Crispy morning.
We had to change the outfit we had decided to wear late last night when the front came in. You've got to keep up with the weather. So we were dressed right for this day. It's one of those days where it warms up quickly. It's like desert air. It's dry air.
Yep.
I love this time of year in southeastern Texas.
Yeah. Man, I forgot my glasses. I'm wearing regular glasses.
That's the time you forgot at home?
Yep. Let's go.
Paul forgot his Oakleys. He's wearing his regular work glasses. But with the brim, the cap he has as a brim, so it should be good.
Yeah.
Feel it.
On this ride, Paul and I left Northampton. We're running a little behind schedule, so we went ahead and just rode out past Sterling Ridge. We took Honea, Egypt, and went straight out through the neighborhood out to Spring Branch Road. We passed a couple of the guys off camera, and then we passed the group at Gary there, and we went to Dobbins. We did Mount Moriah. We did 1486. We filmed on 1486. There were a lot of riders into Dacus. We filmed there because a lot of guys were standing around, not social distancing, you know. So that was weird to see. But we went out to Forest Glen and came back on 149 past Montgomery. And once we rolled back, we took Ottawa through the neighborhood. And we got to our favorite road, and we filmed Honea, Egypt Road back to the Woodlands. We hope you all will enjoy the clips that we got for you. It ended up being a very epic ride. It was a very pleasant day, but very breezy.
We took a different route. There was supposed to be a marathon in Woodlands today. We're running behind. We'll see who we can pick up. Still warming up.
There's a marathon this weekend in Woodlands. So we were about one block west of it, so we didn't have to deal with their closures.
Yeah.
So since we were running behind, we decided to just do our own route because we were about 30 minutes behind the normal schedule, or 15-20 minutes, something like that. So we decided we would just head out, and if we picked up somebody, fine. We ended up seeing the guys, it's off camera, but they were stopped at a store, and we really had no intention of stopping. So we continued going on Mount Moriah Road. You see me downshift there, keeping the tempo reasonable.
Yeah, I heard it making some noise.
My chain had been making noises. My tension in the cable was a little too high, and I adjusted it about a block before we started filming. I was telling Paul that took care of the issue. Sometimes you adjust the bike on the stand, you really have to put it down on the road to fine-tune certain things. Especially since I change wheels all the time, so depending on the dishing and all of that, they're usually pretty close because I dish them myself. I'm staying right around sweet spot here, keeping the effort steady so we can get a nice intense warm-up. We're going directly into the wind. The wind really did not spare us today. Going north is blowing from the northwest, and then coming home later in the afternoon, it switched on us to the southeast. That's why the day warmed up so dramatically. You'll see that in the clips to come. But it didn't slow us down much. We were determined. So even though this road is a slight slope, going directly into the wind increases the effort. And what I'm trying to do is to pace ourselves here. I'm keeping the effort the same as the grade kicks in a bit. And then the wind really starts to hit us here. We're heading towards Woodlands Parkway. This is Flintridge. After this intersection, the name changes. We didn't have to wait long. I believe green up shows up quickly. So as we go across this intersection, this becomes Carlton Woods Drive. This will take us in about a half a kilometer to a turn circle, and the road will become Sterling Ridge. The village of Sterling Ridge is in the area.
Yes, I did.
I'm checking with Paul to make sure that he didn't forget to take a gel. But we had all kinds of issues this morning, you know, forgetting to turn things on, and he forgot his regular cycling glasses. We had to go back for me to get some of my technical equipment. I forgot to put the speed sensor on the wheels when I switched them. You know, while I was doing that, I probably got interrupted. And so we wanted to make sure we had everything on there to get our power meter to record and display the proper watts. So it delayed us a few minutes, but nothing major. So that's a golf course straight across in this turn circle. I checked to the right. This is Sterling Ridge Drive. As we enter the turn circle, I always check to the right because you can't see. It's a blind corner. That's a golf course on the right there. Covers the whole block pretty much. There are homes in there as well. The wind is now coming from in front and to the right, northwest. We're headed west. And the road will curve to the right. So if we're going west, then it's going to go northwesterly as we get towards the next major road there, which is called Branch Crossing. There's a guy changing a flat. We asked him, we make sure he has everything. He said, yeah. And there are two other cyclists on the left. I don't know if they were with him or not, but they're on the left, which is unusual because they're going against traffic right there. And maybe they were riding with him. I don't know. I doubt it because they wouldn't be way over here. So we say hi to them as we roll. So we're trying to keep it around 16, 17 miles an hour into the wind warming up. And we're not doing it by speed. Basically, we're at sweet spot, a little above zone 3. And whatever the speed shows, it shows. I just refer to the speed that shows up on the screen at each particular moment. We do not train to speed. Instead since we're doing about 6.5, 7 hours, we pretty much don't have like an official warm-up. We just ride. You just get into the ride. The longer the ride, the less intense your warm-up needs to be, unless you're going to hook up with people that are going to spice things up early, like when we ride with Team RR. We were kind of hoping we'd run into some people, but it didn't happen, and so we just did our usual. Staying right around like 17, 18 miles an hour. Then we're gonna turn in about 1 kilometer. We're gonna turn right, probably half a kilometer, about 500 or 600 meters down the road. We're gonna turn right on Branch Crossing, and then we'll be going directly into the wind. So on this whole stretch, I kept the effort tempered, knowing that we'd have to deal with the wind. It's kind of like when you're approaching a climb, you save some energy for it. This is Branch Crossing Drive. So since I knew we would have to work a little harder going into the wind, I backed off back there on Sterling Ridge. So we're right around almost 18 miles an hour right now into the wind. The effort is in the same range. Sweet spot to the bottom of zone 4. I treat it like a long climb because there's a lot of resistance from the wind, and parts of this road later on slopes. So you have to find your rhythm that your body likes when you're riding against heavy load. There's a time to use high cadence. I like to use high cadence when I'm accelerating or sitting in a fast pace line. But when there's a lot of load, I temper my cadence to where I'm not overstressing my aerobic system. So right now I'm using a nice blend between my muscular and aerobic systems. This is a good range for a long, steady effort as far as a rhythm. You can hear the wind. This is a slight downhill. That's why the speeds have crept up in the low 20s, about 21, 22 miles an hour. And right around here, we feel the grade kicks in, and when we go across the bridge, then the road is going to slope upwards. I believe I only shifted down one cog. There are times when you need to push. You have to be able to do it all. You can't ride small gears all the time. The tights I'm wearing are called the Rafa Protein Bib Tights 2 with pad, black and black. I've got a review of them coming up on the channel soon, but I really like the fit. They used a lot of panels to where they really hug your body parts without you fighting them. So they're very comfortable on the bike. I don't like to put tights over shorts because then you got two materials that can bunch up. This is where the road slopes, and I go ahead and just push the gear I'm in. I check my mirror, nothing's coming. We move to the center lane here because the right lane goes right. So it's clear to the other road users that we are going straight. And what we do when the light changes, we go ahead and go through the intersection and then move to the right, since there's only one lane so the drivers can get by easier. But when you're here at the stop, take up the lane so that people who are turning right, you're not blocking them. You see this guy behind us coming? He's going to be turning right. Because we're perfectly placed, there's no issues. He can go ahead and make his right turn. There's no point in straddling both lanes. The groups tend to do that a lot. You don't need to block the whole road. Stay in one lane. So I move over so this guy can go because I knew he was back there. And we get back up to speed, 18, 19 miles an hour. And we're just moving, same effort. We try to get back to speed quickly because the stops cause your heart rate to go down. So once the light changes, get back up to speed. You know, get that acceleration going and sit down, because that's what happens in competition or in a group ride. They don't go back up to speed slowly. So get used to that. I continue to work my legs more than my lungs in this section. You feel the gear more for that kind of a workout, but you're not laboring. I've checked my mirror, there's a car back there, and I think he's going to slow down, and then I'll move over. I'm keeping my eye on him. You always watch those cars to the right, like the guy on the right. I'm watching him too. Anything that can obscure your path or cross your path, you keep your eye on. The like risk points. So I looked at the driver. He was coming. I'm gonna look again. Then he let us go. He slowed down. He's going to the right, so he slowed down when he realized we're going to turn. So you have to communicate with the other road users. That's the guy on the right there. Once he realized we're gonna turn, he slowed down. He could tell after I looked back that there was something going on. Basically, we were looking for them, so it clued him. And sometimes it's just best to point left. This is Research Forest Drive. We turn right. This is where we usually ride with Team RR. We know they're gone because it's 7:40 something in the morning, and they usually leave at 7:30, 7:35, so about 7:40. So they're probably just about 5 or 10 minutes ahead, 5 minutes maybe, because 7:45 they're usually at this point. It takes them 10 or 15 minutes to get there.
1486, headed north, into the wind. Been pounding us all morning. Decided to film some clips here. My brother's gonna film for us. We're gonna work, we might as well get it on film.
Yep.
Let's do this.
We're a little north of Mount Moriah Road. We're on 1486 headed towards a little town called Dacus, Texas. And we find out in a few kilometers that everybody and their uncle are riding bikes today. I mean, everybody's out. I guess the speech from our governor that lifted the mask mandate brought everybody out of the closet, I guess. You know, we're not going to change what we're doing. We're still going to listen to the CDC. But you'd be amazed. We saw like more cyclists than we've seen in years at any one time, away from an organized ride, a paid ride. You will see that shortly. And then we stopped at a rail crossing where they acted like social distancing was not necessary. They're just standing around near a store. I mean, within close proximity to each other. So just be careful out there. I don't listen to politicians when it comes to health matters. I listen to the health experts. This road is chip sealed, and it's not a whole lot of fun, let alone going into the wind. So we don't spend a lot of time on this. When we come out here, we put our heads down and we rock and roll. You can see I'm in the drops. We're going directly into the wind. It's northwesterly. Right now it's going more northwesterly. But you can see the surface of the road. You feel that. But you know, with the Victorias I have on those wheels, they're nice and tempered down, but still, chip seal just slows you down. So basically, I've been working into the wind, Paul and I, and we've just kept the tempo 70 to 85 thereabouts, or 75 to 90 sometimes. But right now you can see I'm edging into zone 4. I'm a little above sweet spot here because of the terrain and this wind. This place is wide open, it's unprotected. And we decided we're just going to work hard and get off this road. It's not a road to chat on. It's busy, but it's quiet. You get a car now and then, most of the time. So you can get a good workout on this road. It goes all the way into Richards if you stay on it. Right there we see this group, and Jerry's there. That's Jerry at the back. So that's part of the WCC guys, I guess. It's about probably 10:17 in the morning. They're headed back. So it's good to see them. So we thought, okay, that's it. That's normal. These are the guys we normally see out here. And then we get a nice surprise in a little while. We see a line of cyclists with a bunch of cars behind them. Because the line is so long and there's so many of them, the cars are waiting till it's safe to pass. This is the significance of having a good fit cannot be overstated. This road is crappy, the conditions are tough. To stay in one position riding, if you're not comfortable, is nearly impossible. You'll be moving all over the place. Your bike must fit you if you're going to do this very well. We're in the middle of nowhere, between Dobbins and Dacus, in northwest Montgomery County, Texas. The road slopes up. You got the wind in our face, blowing, gusting, and then we've got this chip seal to deal with. I stand up to change my rhythm a bit. It's a little bump. I didn't want to downshift. See how a student sat down in one motion. You don't need to be fidgeting. If you're fidgeting, that means you're not sitting on the saddle properly. This is where Paul said that's a big group. He spots them. They're up on the left. I didn't bother putting an arrow because you can't miss them. There's so many cyclists. We've never seen this size group in a long time. Look at that. And there's more. They're all over the highway. Look at all the cars waiting to pass. So I moved to the right a little bit just in case somebody was going to try. But these guys are patient. And then we see more cyclists behind this truck. So I'm like, this is very unusual. I even mentioned to Paul, maybe there is an organized ride that we don't know about. But there wasn't. It's just the decree from the governor that said the masks mandate is lifted. So everybody's out. Which is fine, just be cautious. In enclosed spaces, you gotta keep the distance. You gotta wear your mask. Listen to the experts, not people who are playing games. So the cyclists are all over the road. They're all broken up. There's more of them on the left coming. We're about maybe 3 kilometers outside of Dacus right now. It's down the road. We can probably see it in the distance. This road is so straight. That's why I told Paul that the government said everything open. They open up all the business. So now we've got organized rides that are coming. You know, so we're gonna look for some to attend. You know, within reason. But we are going to honor the CDC guidelines. That's Dacus in the distance as a store.
Yep.
Where that truck is turning, there's a curve coming up. In that curve, see the sign? It's like an S curve. It's a tricky curve. People actually end up running into the store. They hit the building sometimes when they run off the road from the other direction.
Yeah. Good call.
I told Paul, I said, I'm glad we turned on the camera. This train is very loud. Yeah, I mean he's past the intersection and he's still blowing. So I'm like, what's the point?
Cyclists, man.
Yeah, look at all you see all the riders. That's a store in Dacus is where a lot of cyclists stop. But look at these guys standing right next to each other. No masks, no nothing.
Yeah.
All in this corner here. Bunch of cyclists just standing there. I'm like, okay, give yourself some room or something. So you have to be careful out there, guys. It's okay when you're moving on the bike. You're outside moving around, but when you're standing, you don't know. You still have to be cautious. So we do a time lapse here. Paul pans the camera. You will see these guys did not move to there. And that was my thing, was that you still have to know that COVID-19 is out there killing a lot of people. Be cautious when you're standing next to a large group of people, these large gatherings. We're on 149 here. We had an issue with the camera. I'm not sure what was going on, but we had to reinsert the battery to get it to work. So got that resolved, and we're back on the road. 149 South. And once again, we've turned in a southeasterly direction. This is 4 hours and 40 minutes into the ride. The wind has shifted. You can see it is 22 Celsius. It has warmed up tremendously. In a few kilometers, I will end up removing my gloves because my hands just got too hot. And sometimes when you're on a day with changeable weather and conditions, what you can do is just removing your gloves can get your temperature to where you don't need to remove anything else, because it's almost like it allows your body to re-regulate itself. So sometimes removing your gloves or removing a neck warmer or your hat or something like that will allow you to keep on your jersey, because I was very comfortable. The jersey did not get uncomfortable. It breathes really well. Has great range. These thermal jerseys that Rafa produces, I really like their versatility. They have become my go-to jersey in cold weather, to the point where I don't use arm warmers very often anymore. So we're right a little below sweet spot right now. This road goes up and down. It's a very fair day, but very windy. And and this entire part of this area is up and down. And we've got steeper ones coming in probably 6 kilometers. I told Paul to come through to take a pole. So at least we can get him on film.
Yep.
A lot of time when he pulls the cameras off. Slide behind him. Stay within a foot. With Paul I can get as close as I want. But right now I'm messing with the camera. I'm gonna try different angles while he pulls. This is a 2.5%, 3% climb we're on. If the roads if you look in the distance, they curve, they're slightly rolling and they're up and down. So you have to pay attention to how your gearing feels. You will not be able to tell by looking at the road, but you feel the grade. See how stable Paul is on the bike. It all begins with your fit. You want to get good in cycling, you gotta get a good bike fit.
That's okay.
This is when I get to take a break. I get my little breather here while he's pulling. I hang back a little bit because I'm messing with the camera, and now I start to move forward here to get a little closer. I'm getting it ready to pass on to him. Go ahead and roll over. I had already checked for traffic. I'll go across that little, those markers have little rubberized raised edges on them. We're going directly into the wind. If you look at the middle of my jersey, that's the only place you see ripples because the pockets are loaded, and so they're allowed the wind to do that. But the rest of the jersey on my torso allows the wind to really slide over. So the quality of your kit and the way it fits you makes a big difference, because I would take a well-fitting kit over fancy wheels any day of the week because my body is 80% of the drag. Starts to kick up here. I make sure I'm in the appropriate gear to stay in my range. So by keeping your cadence reasonable, you can save your legs for harder efforts later. You have to do the necessary drills to be able to tolerate the kind of cadence you're seeing right now. I'm in one gear, just revving it up. I shift up a little bit, it brings my cadence down. You don't want to just start doing that in a group ride because you can go anaerobic and start huffing and puffing and you'll be out the back. The road kicks up. I try to keep my rhythm the same. It's going to vary depending on how you're feeling, how you've been riding, how the ride has gone. Is always going to be different. Don't try to do the same thing. Pay attention to how you feel in the moment. That's what matters. I don't know if it's here, but I see somebody cutting grass or something. We're gonna have to end up using a road. It looks like it might be here. The road looks familiar. Hard to tell. But 149 here has a nice shoulder. The width varies, and some parts of it have debris. So we keep our eye on the traffic coming from behind at all times, using our mirror, of course. Oh, you turn and look back if you want. See me look in the mirror? Because something, yeah. That's the gravel. Oh, this is where the guy's cutting the grass. Yeah, okay, good. I knew it looked familiar, but I wasn't sure. You see how I got over that white line? That line has little bumps or bumpers on them, like ridges like you'd find on a washboard. So you don't want to ride on that line because those bumps are like riding on a washboard. You see them very clearly there. So you want to go across directly when it's necessary and make it quick and get across. We're approaching Bailey Grove Road on the right here. The road kicks up. Try not to kill yourself because the road kicking up, because even though we had the wind in our face this morning, we still have the wind in our face now because it has changed. That's why the day got to 70 degrees Fahrenheit right now, 20 Celsius. It went up 20 degrees in 3 hours. You see the road in the distance. This is a beautiful part of town to ride. We love coming out here. As I've said before, the terrain alone gives you a challenge. You don't need any meters. Just come and ride them. Just find the right course. On an easy day, find a flat course. Spin the little gears. The day you want to work, find a course that will push you. So mentally, you don't have to push yourself. Because on a flat course, you have to really get the drive up to push yourself. The rollers in this section here go up to like 6% in certain spots. See me settle into tempo here. Just kind of getting a rhythm. I'm not trying to kill myself. I'm not trying to fight the 800-pound gorilla. That's why my gloves are hot. My hands are hot, and I'm pulling off these gloves. They did their job. The Prologue. You should be able to do what you see me do. You practice that. When you ride by yourself, whatever, practice. No hands riding. It's important. So you don't have to stop. I didn't break my rhythm. I just pulled them off, put it in my pocket. I open up my chest. because we're climbing here. I'm gonna check for traffic. There's a lot of debris, and I'm gonna take the road. It's all that gravel to put out. Once it gets cleaner, I'll move back. This is a courtesy for the other road users. You are not required by law to ride on the shoulder. It's being courteous to the other road users, and it just makes sense. There's no point sitting out in the main lane when you're going slower than most of the other traffic. The same thing you would do if your car had a problem. You'd stay to the right, turn on your flashers. But most people don't understand that you're being courteous. They act like jerks, like you have to be on the shoulder. It's not your problem that they're ignorant. You just do what makes sense. They usually find out the hard way. Look at that road in the distance. It may not look like much, but I think this section here goes up to 6%. They come thick and fast out here on 149. We're north of West Montgomery Park. That's why I told Paul, I said this one really kicks. We get on the small chain ring. I'm probably in a 68-inch gear or something. And yes, this is it. This one kicks. Right about here it gets to like 5 or 6%. I think 6.4. And I just stay in rhythm. It's important to ride the climb as opposed to labor up the climb. You don't teach your body anything when you labor up a climb. There's something in my shoe bothering me. I'm not sure what it is, but that's why I've been twisting my foot to try to get it to settle. I guess I got it sorted there. Might have been my socks. Sometimes you put on stuff and you put on shoe covers. Hours on the bike. If it moves, I can feel them. And I'm real finicky about that. The road kicks back up. It's a nice long, this is a milder grade, about 3% or so. This takes us towards Montgomery Park. And I tried my best to just stay smooth. No matter how much your legs scream, if you're in the proper gear, you look smooth. I'm finding a rhythm that I like, and I just stay with that. And so when you're riding with other people and they start jackrabbiting and stuff up the climb, hold your rhythm. You'll be fine. Slight downhill here, but that wind is still pounding in our face and from the left. We were hoping we'd have a tailwind on the way home, but that didn't happen on this day. You know, we ride for so many hours that the conditions can change. That's just the way it is. You hear the wind. Settle into a rhythm and try to keep the tempo the same, right at sweet spot. This way you don't ride around aimlessly for hours. You have a focus. So every ride we do, we have a plan, what we plan to do during the ride, with or without a group. Other than the two of us, a group of two. So we have our base plan and then we accommodate who we hook up with. There's some debris on the road. I don't like to ride through a lot of debris because they have surprises. I like clean pavement. You see the road kicking, you can see I'm driving more into the pedals, but still smooth. So the road's going up into the wind and just holding the same tempo. This lane ends, they've got those ridges on the right, so I just take the road there. You can see the ridges to the right. You don't want to ride over that. That's there to wake up drivers when they're running off the road. That's not comfortable to ride on. You can see the divots in the asphalt. This is 1097. We passed this intersection, and we're on 149 going into downtown Montgomery, where this road becomes Liberty Lane. We don't ride into downtown, we turn on 1097 eastbound and we go to Taco Corner. I check my mirror, nothing's coming. We have more speed here, so I'm taking more of the road. As we begin to go up that climb over there, which is pretty substantial, I'm keeping my eye on the mirror and a car starts to approach. You can see me look in the mirror and I will move over to the right as a courtesy, because I'm going slower and slower. We are entering Montgomery County city limits. The city of Montgomery within Montgomery County. There's a car behind us. I see him. I tell Paul, let's cut across this parking lot. I don't want to stand at that intersection. It's too much of an open road to be standing at that light, so we cut across here. And then my pedal almost does not want to disengage. And when that happens, don't panic. Right there, I yanked it out.
My cleat almost didn't come out.
Seriously?
Yeah, I was like, what the hell?
And if that had happened, I would have just turned right and used the shoulder to keep moving, because that's all you need is motion. And you know, I can even do a track stand, but you don't want to panic. You want to think quickly. So I thought there was a car coming. I told him to wait, and then I told him we got it. So we cut across here to avoid standing in the middle of that road.
Yeah.
This is 1097 East. It will take us to Taco Corner. We're heading directly into the east wind. The wind is blowing from the southeast now. This is the direction of the wind that we have all summer long. That's why it gets hot and stays hot. At this point in the ride, I got my shoes sorted out. Whatever was bothering my foot is no longer an issue. It feels fine. I think it was my socks or something, or the tongue on the shoe. So I kept tugging on it. It's got to feel just right, especially with shoe covers. If they don't feel right, it's almost like you got a little area on the corner of your ankle, and it can burn your skin. You know, we're out here for hours, so things need to feel, they need to fit you well. Don't ignore those little things. Any discomfort can be magnified if you let it go for 5 hours or however long we're riding. So, you know. Everything I'm doing is being done while I'm looking in that mirror. I'm keeping my eye on traffic behind us. That's important. If you don't have a mirror, make sure you look back. Don't just drift out into the lane. If you're gonna stay on the road like this, you see where I am, that's fine. Stay there. If there's a shoulder and you decide to use it when you're trying to come back off the shoulder, you have to check. It's your responsibility. Once you leave traffic, you're no longer a part of it. So to come back on the main road, you gotta check. Right here, we don't like to turn right. That's Taco Corner. We like to go straight and take go. When you turn right, sometimes as cars coming on that side, it's an odd off-camber turn. So Paul and I prefer to go straight and turn into the parking lot up here. You see where I'm riding? I saw that blue car in the mirror. So it's just nice to keep an eye on traffic. I love having it. We're not sure what the guy in the truck is doing, but his engine's running. So I kept my eye on him as I turned. There's a car backing out. I'm going to point. Yeah, let Paul know. That Jeep had the reverse lights on. You got to let your mate know any kind of hazard that might come up or what you think might be a hazard. Let him know early. This is Taco Corner, the Shell station. They call it Taco Corner because they make tacos here. Breakfast tacos, I guess. I've never had one.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
Man,
Shoot.
we're moving though.
Oh, yeah.
I'll have fight me before. All right, legends. On 2854 headed south. Winds from the west and a little behind us. We got no perfect tailwind today. We're working, rocking and rolling.
Yeah, we're pretty. Yeah, man.
That wind's blowing. Even the grass on the side of the road is leaning to the right. The wind is blowing from the left. In a little bit, you will see the flags. Look over there. Look at those blue flags.
Yeah.
Look at them leaning. That's what we're dealing with. So instead of having a tailwind after fighting the northwesterly wind all this morning, the wind has shifted in our face and from the left, the southeasterly wind. It's 21 Celsius because of that. From 8 Celsius, it went up 13 degrees, 13 degrees Celsius in one ride in 5.5 hours. Central Texas for you, it changes out here. This is the land of arm warmers and leg warmers for that very purpose. What I do is, if it's just going to be very cold in the morning, I don't want to carry no arm warmers on our long rides because I don't have pockets to put them in. I don't want to be storing them under my jersey and all that. So I just put on some tights. And with the Rafa tights, they breathe so well that unless you get up in the 80s Fahrenheit, meaning 28 C, you're comfortable. You're comfortable in the low 20s in their tights. That's the quality of their stuff. So yeah. They cost a pretty penny, but they're worth it. They're very breathable. All their stuff is made for days like these and situations like these. I'm in this position because of that wind. It is pounding me. Listen to that thing. And at this point, I want to get us home because what we're trying to do now is we're increasing our pace to cover more ground within these rides. It's now March, and because of disturbances to our training program, we're a few weeks off of our original plan. So now we're trying to increase our tempo during these rides. We're going to be going faster within the same time and covering more ground where possible. Even if we don't cover more ground, we're going to increase our effort. That's why we spent most of the ride today doing sweet spot intervals instead of zone 2. And I'm trying to stay as smooth as possible as that wind blows me. You see it's taking my speed down. Because it's blowing, I get in the drops, I have more control because it's literally blowing me to the side. You see where Paul is? Because the wind's coming from the left and in our face, he's on my hip. You can see his little brake hood right down at the bottom there by my foot. That's an echelon. A 2-man echelon we're running. That's how you ride. This is what they do in Belgium, in the Netherlands, and places far between. I love using the drops in these situations. You have very good control, and it's almost like a rest position. Because it's very windy, I don't want to mess around trying to get too fancy. I need to keep that bike tracking. I'm not sure how we got the 38K out here because this thing was blowing. And you see, it's a slight slope. Just -1 or something, then it will level off. So it's pretty much a flat road. And with that wind, yeah, we were rolling. That's what I told to boss. We're talking about the wind. I thought the wind changed on us. We were supposed to get a tailwind. Didn't happen. Put your head down. You find a gear, the largest gear you can handle, to where you're not laboring and you work it. And if your bike doesn't fit you, you can't do what you're watching. It's just hard to stay in one position. You'll be scooting around. The body wants to be in its optimal position when you put a lot of load on it. And right now we're under some load. Just told Paul the wind's from the southeast now. It was northwesterly this morning, blowing like crazy.
I gotta ask to study the wind. Decide to tell them nothing. You gotta ride your bike.
Yeah, you can't worry about the wind. You roll with it.
That's why it warmed up so quickly. Yeah, the switch. Let it change again.
I was riding probably an 84-inch gear thereabouts. Now the road's going slightly downhill, so I get a bit of a reprieve. As the grade kicks in, I downshift. Don't be shy. That's why you carry the gears. Use them. Find a gear that's a little easier than you think you need, that won't mess up your tempo, especially on any climb of a reasonable length. And because as you ride the climb, the grade will kick in. That's what I did there. I went down a couple of cogs and then rode into this grade. I like to shift up versus shifting down. We're turning right here on Adui. A signal, turn. That little climb gets up to 7%. You see me drop it to the small chain ring right there. And what I do is I drop it, but I shift in the back. That's why my rhythm does not change much. Look at that grade. Paul said car back. Because I'm in the appropriate gear, I can accelerate. It gets to around 7% right around here somewhere. I like to err on the side of having too small a gear on the climb versus too big. I shift back up to the big chain ring. I'm done with the climb.
Yeah.
We're on our favorite road, Honea Egypt Road. An old friend. This road has a lot of patina. It's over 6 hours into the ride. And we took Honea Egypt Road to get a little bit of protection from the wind that you just saw, because we're still battling that bad boy, blowing from the southeast, directly in front and to the left. Listen to it. You can't let the wind bother you. The wind does its thing, you do yours. Find the gear and get ready to do the work. Riding the edge to avoid those ridges that they put in these curves over here. Nice new pavement on this section. We're hoping to eventually do the whole road. But we'll take this. So I'm settling into some kind of a rhythm here. We're aware that with this wind, we've got that last climb at the end, and we don't want to crawl up that climb. So we got to make sure we keep something in reserve. Find the easiest gear that you can handle for the conditions. The largest gear, I should say, not easiest. The largest gear you can handle without wearing out your legs. You keep your legs fresh because there's more to come. Climbing that 6% climb at the end into the wind, and it continues for quite a few kilometers after you get over the steepest pitch. So I try and find a rhythm, and I relax my body as the wind continues to blow harder to make sure I stay smooth. This section is more exposed, so the wind picks up more. I don't concern myself about it. I just pay attention to how the gearing feels. All I do is I glide around those obstacles because Paul and I are both familiar with the road. I don't need to point out every imperfection. That you see the water on the right, that's what I'm pointing out. That's what floods the road. Because even though it hasn't rained in a while, it's just sitting there. And it won't take much for it to get over the road. I don't know who's got that pond right there that we passed. To avoid these ridges that they dug into the road, we ride the edge here. You use your hips to steer the bike. It's just more comfortable. I mean, if we have to, we'll ride the ridges, but if you can avoid it, why not? There's the climb in the distance. Gets up to about 6% at its steepest gradient. And then it continues for about 2 or 3 kilometers after that, between 1 to 3%. So because it's very windy and it's about 6 hours plus into the ride, when we get to that climb, I'm going to put my gearing, I'm going to shift to the small chainring while shifting in the back. For those of you who are not comfortable with shifting while you're riding, We made a video about it on the channel. I'm not sure if it's in the members only or not, but you can search how to shift from the small to the big chainring without changing your rhythm. So right here, the grade kicks in. See that? I'm on a small chainring. You can't even tell. Kept my rhythm the same. And Paul just shifted too. That's why you saw the camera flip, because he's holding his left hand. And this is where the gradient kicks in. It gets to about 5 or 6%. It levels off a little bit. Then it goes back to 5 or 6%. There's 2 sections. This is the second time it kicks in again. It says 4 over there, but it's more like 5 or 6. And right here, then you're over the steepest pitches. But now it's about 3% or so. So if you killed yourself on those 2 pitches back there, your legs will be blowing up right here, tight. Because you're climbing all the way you see in the distance. We're going up around 3%. Then it curves and it drops to maybe 2% or so. I love this climb because it's at the end of a hard ride. Every time you come out this way, it's a good way to finish your ride. And that wind continues to blow. So you just find a gear that will allow you to maintain the tempo you need. As my cadence starts to rise, now the grade is dropping, so the gear is getting easier. I shift up and my cadence goes back to the low. I'm trying to keep my rhythm the same. I'm right in the bottom of zone 4 now, low above sweet spot. Just keeping it steady. It's a different kind of effort. This is steady. These are not attacks and accelerations. Those are different. That's a whole different ball game. So don't just go out and ride for hours. Have a plan. So in that ride, you can hit the different zones that you need to. I just shifted to the big chain ring, and in the back, shifted down to keep my rhythm the same. You should be able to do that without breaking your momentum. You can see, even though the road looks like it's level, you can see, I think it says 3% or 2%. It's up and down. You still feel it. We want to thank our sponsors, our supporters, Senor Ilonga and Joe Nanga, our channel members and patrons for supporting Veloharmony. Without your assistance, we will not be able to bring you this top quality content consistently. We appreciate your support. Consider becoming a channel member on YouTube and help Veloharmony produce cycling content for all levels. The road goes slightly downhill. You use this opportunity, keep pedaling, don't coast. It flushes the lactate out of your legs. I ride in the middle here because that's the smoothest part right here, this curve. And there's no car coming or anything. Even if they're worried, if they're far enough behind, you just go ahead and take the road for that section. And then you can move back over to make it easier for them to pass. You don't have to leave the road for them to pass you. You just want to make sure that your position forces them to make good decisions. See where I'm riding? For them to pass, they can't pass completely in my lane safely. They have to either wait for a car to clear, but they have to go across that yellow line. They have to move over. That's what you want, because there is no shoulder on this road right now. So you use the lane by placing yourself where the right tire of the cars ride when there is no shoulder. This is 2978, aka Fish Creek. This section is called Honea Egypt Road. We just got off Honea Egypt Community Road. We're back in town, and I hope you all got a chance to get some K's in this weekend. But this is part of what we did on Saturday. I told Paul we're gonna ride to the light because there's a quieter road off of that street that the light is on that we're gonna use to spin back in. I checked the mirror. Once it's clear, I just move over. It's really easy to use. I keep looking in the mirror. You just look down and it just basically shows you everything. Paul's already moving over. I think he's probably checked his mirror. No, he's still on the shoulder. But right about here, it clears and then I move over. I let Paul know there are no cars coming in. If they're wary, you can see my signal. And we're gonna turn at this corner. So no matter what, get your K's in and keep those doctors fired. What else are you gonna do on a Saturday? Get your K's in.